Hello all, my name is Ankush Agnihotri. Today we will continue our Angular journey. This is part 9 of it. If you haven't watched the other parts, I suggest you to watch that first. Link is in description box. And also please subscribe the channel to get the latest notification of this series. So let's start. Today we will talk about Angular routes. So what is routing? Routing allows you to move from one part of the application to the another part, or you can say from one view to the another view. Angular router module belongs to the Angular router library. The router modules basically provide you the necessary service and the directive for navigating throughout the application views. Using the Angular router, you can basically navigate to a specific view by typing a URL in the address bar, and you can also pass the optional parameter to the view, and you can also bind the clickable elements to the view and load the view when the user performs some application task to it. Routing basically also handles the back and the forward button of the browser. It allows you to dynamically load the view, and it also protects your component using the guards when unauthorized user try to access the guards. So let's start. For perform these Angular routes, we are using two third-party libraries, Bootstrap and the primeng themes. So let's switch to the code first. So for the primeng theme, this is the open source theme that we are using for our demo. It provides us the admin templates and various other open source tool for it. So link is in description, you can check it out. Apart from that, we have to install the Angular library also, that is the Bootstrap Angular library. I already have installed it for the demo. So after you install, this is the command npm install, and for installing the primeng we have command npm install primeng, and then the primeicons, and lastly the Angular CDK. After you install these two third-party packets, and then you need to be update your style array. So we need to be go to the angular.json file. Over there you have to be modify your style array, and for adding the bootstrap javascript library you have to be update your javascript array, scripts array in the angular.json file. We have one more place where you have to be do the same over the top, where we have a production scripts like this, same way that we done in the bottom of the file. So the next step is to see our application architect that we are going to be build it. So in this demo for the Angular routes, we will introduce our other component of the application, that is the user list, user detail, add user component for adding and updating it. So let's do that first. Open the terminal window, type the command ng space g space c, g for generate, c for component, and your component name, user list. Hit enter. It automatically creates your component and add it in the app.module.ts file. And then the next component, add user, that we will use to create and update the user in our application. And thirdly, we need a navigation bar in which we will define our menu options. And then we need one more component, that is the error component. This we will use whenever user tries to enter any URL that is not existed in our routing table, then this error component will take care of this. Now open your app.routing.module.ts file, this one. Now over there we have a routes array over here. In this we need to be define our routes. So how we can define a route? We can define it simply by starting the path keyword. Here we have to be pass the keyword that we will use in the address bar, then a component that we want to be load it when that particular URL is called. So let's quickly add our other components also. So the second is the user list component, and third is the add user component, and then the other two components that we will use for the other demos, that is the Angular pipes and the directive demo. So add that also. For this, the pipes component, and for the directives, Angular directive component, give the path as directives, and lastly the wildcard. This will handle our all the requests that is not present in this routes table. So here we have defined our all the routes that we are going to be using in our application. So next is the defining our navbar. So open the navigation bar component that we have defined, open its HTML. So in this HTML we have to be declare our navigation bar. So we have this ready. How we can define that? We can define that using the router link directives that will bind our anchor tag element to some specific route. So basically router link is an attribute directive. We enclose it using the square brackets. The router link is then bound to the template expression which returns a link parameter array. The link parameter array is the parameters or the arguments to the route, and then the Angular route module construct the URL using the link parameter array. When the user click any of the router's link, then it will decide which path I have to activate and then specify its activated component to it. Like in our case, when we pass the user as a parameter link parameter array, then it will go to the routing module, find its path and then activates its component associated with it. And similarly, let's define our other menu options also for pipes and directives, and path, pass its path, for directive its directives, and for pipes and then the next part is to display or declare this navbar into the app.component.html file. So open that the app.component.html file, remove its default HTML that will be created using the Angular CLI. Now go to your app navbar.component and copy its selector. Come back to the app component. So now declare this. Now here we have defined our navigation bar, and when user click on it using the router outlets, is associated component will be loaded in the router outlet. Now the next step is you need to be open your app module.ts. Make sure app.component.ts is your startup bootstrap component. So we update that, and one last thing we need to be check is go to your .index.html file. Make sure the starting tag is the tag that belongs to the app.component.ts selector. So in this case it is the app-route. So copy that, go to the index.html, update this app.route. Now that's it. Now we are good to go. Open the terminal, type npm start. This will build our application and host it on the port 4200. Go to this URL. So now we have a nice little navigation bar on the top where we have the user component. You can see the URL is changing correspondingly, and then the pipes demo, and then the directive demo. Don't worry about the source code, you will get it on the Git. So that's it for the Angular routes. See you in the next session. Bye.